Dear students, good evening and welcome to Advanced Level History Revision by Sir Moses. Today we are going to focus on question 2 of paper 2, section A. Remember, Advanced Level History. Under question 2, paper 2, section A, you either have Islamization of Northern Cameroon or the implementation of Christian missions in Cameroon. Between these two topics, one often come or one must come. So therefore, today, we are going to focus on the implementation of Christian missions in Cameroon. It's been long. I haven't posted on YouTube. I guess I'm welcome. Notwithstanding, without wasting a lot of time, we shall be moving to start. The various possible questions under Christian missionary activities in Cameroon. I've chosen 13 from the various mock past GC questions. The first question, what factors favored and hindered Christian missionary activity on the Cameroon coast between 1814 and 1884? The second question, how beneficial were the activities of the London Baptist Missionary Society from 1841 to 1884 in Cameroon? The third, how involved were the London Baptist Missionary Society in the socio-economic and political development of Cameroon during the period of 1841 to 1884? The fourth, examine the impact of the activities of the London Baptist Missionary Society along the coast of Cameroon between 1840 and 1884. The fifth, assess the achievement of the London Baptist Missionary Society along the Cameroon coast between 1841 and 1884. The sixth, what challenges confronted the early missionaries in their evangelization mission along the Cameroon coast between 1884. Seventh, critically examine the evangelistic and educational activities of the London Baptist Missionary Society in Cameroon between 1844 and 1884. The eighth, examine the ease with which the early missionaries succeeded along the Cameroon coast but failed to extend into the interior before 1884. You have number 9, a firm socio-economic foundation lay on the Cameroon coast between 1844 and 1884. How up is this accession of missionary activity? 10. Assess the impact of Christian missionary activity on Cameroonian. 11. Evaluate the impact of Christian missionary activity on Cameroonian. 12. Critically examine the impact of Christian missionary activity on Cameroonian. 13. Examine the motive for and the reason for the successful implementation of Christianity in Cameroon between 1840 and 1884. Dear candidate, dear student, these are the possible questions chosen that we are going to tackle in this video. At the end of this video, you should be able to answer any question that appears under Christian missionary, because in this video, we are going to see how to interpret the key word for the question interpretation under Christian missionary, how to build a good introduction, how to build a good body, how to build a good conclusion. We'll move now without wasting a lot of time. The first question comes under June 2010. And the question is, what factors favor and hindered Christian missionary activity on the Cameroon coast between 1840 and 1884? Dear candidate, we have two words, favor and hindered. The good thing here is that whenever you have an advanced level history question and the word "and" comes in, take note, that question will be either a 2 or a 3-sided, will never be a 1-sided. Because when you have already "and," it's a problem. Because when you say "and," it means that you can say 1 and you have another word "and," it means that it can never be 1, it will be either 2 or 3. So, based on this question, they say what factors The factor is there already. It means that what? You have to give the factor that favored, and you have the factor that what? Hindered. This will make our question to be how many-sided? Two-sided question. Center on factors that favor Christian missionary activity on the Cameroon coast between 1840 and 1884 for the first part, and factors that hinder or problems faced for the second part. Excuse me. This is our interpretation, a two-sided or a double-focus question, center on the factors that favor Christian missionary activity for the first part, and the factors that hinder or problems faced by the Christian missionary activity for the second part. We are done with our interpretation. We now move to examine the introduction. Dear candidate, how would the introduction look like? Take note, there are important key terms for the introduction. Let's move forward. Our introduction will start with a definition of the London Baptist Missionary. What was it all about? The London Baptist Missionary Society, abbreviated LBMS, was the pioneer Christian missionary organization in Cameroon before the territory was annexed by the Germans in 1884. Christian missionary activity was extended to Cameroon primarily because of the need to convert the pagan community along the coast into Christianity. It was also because the missionary wanted to fight against certain traditional vices like the killing of twins, female circumcision. Also held the southward expansion of Islam from North Cameroon, introduced Western civilization, completely abolished slavery and slave trade in the territory, assist in the fight against tropical diseases such as malaria, typhoid, and sleeping sickness, and to promote legitimate trade as a substitute to slave trade. Many factors as well as hindered Christian missionary activity on the Cameroon coast between 1840 and 1884, as shall be analyzed below. You see that in the introduction, I've defined Christian missionary, the London Baptist Missionary, who was the pioneer. That is the first Christian mission organization before the territory was annexed by the territory. Now, since the question is asking for factors that favor and factors that hinder, I cannot just go and start giving the factors that favor and hinder without telling the examiner what prompted the Christian missionary to come to Cameroon. That is, in my introduction, I will give the reason that influenced them to come to Cameroon. Then now I put the thesis or conclude the introduction by linking the questions to the answer. That is how the introduction is. We move now with the first part. Remember, the question was subdivided into two parts. Part one of the question requested us to give factors that favor or ease the activities of Christian missionary in Cameroon. Therefore, the first part here says, with an introductory statement, the following factor eased the activities of the English Baptist Missionary Society in Cameroon, or the London Baptist Missionary Society in Cameroon. One of the factors that motivated missionary to come to Cameroon was the presence of the British on the coast. Before the arrival of the London Baptist Missionary Society, there had been some British at the coast of Cameroon, and they encouraged the activities of the missionary. Also, the presence of the Navy or the British Navy acted as a security and attracted the Christians. The British National Navy Naval Squadron was engaged in slave trade activities in Douala and Bimbia, that is abolishing it, and their presence along the coast favored the activities of Christian missionaries in Cameroon. Additionally, the arrival of British trading companies such as John Hall and Ambas Bay facilitated missionaries' activities. These companies were engaged in trading activity with the natives, and missionaries were motivated by this trading activity to come to Cameroon and carry out their mission. Furthermore, the determination of missionaries was another factor which favored their activities. The determination of Black Jamaican missionaries following the 50th anniversary of the Baptist Church in Jamaica boosted the decision of the English Baptist Missionary Society to Cameroon. Some of the missionaries, as Joseph Mary and Alexander Fuller, were happy to come and preach the great tidings to their brothers. Moreover, the Niger expedition also encouraged the activities of missionaries. It should be noted that when Clark and Prince left Britain, the destination was not the coast of Cameroon, but the Niger Delta. For health reasons, they settled in Fernando Po. It was because of the problem they encountered that they arrived the coast of Cameroon. Lastly, collaboration from the native greatly encouraged the activities of missionaries. For example, Chief William, the king of Bimbia, generally offered land for Christian establishment. Copper and his wife, the first native to be converted, gave much assistance to missionaries. Copper assisted the organization of doctrine classes and served as an inspiration for future native converts. We are done with the first part. Remember, the first part was requesting us to give factors that favor. Therefore, the second part now requests us to give the factors that hindered Christian missionary activities or the work on the Cameroon coast. That's the second part. One of the difficulties which the London Baptist Missionary Society encountered in Cameroon was the harsh tropical climate and the diseases that were rampant in Cameroon. These were not conducive for the missionary who had come from a temperate region. Diseases like malaria, yellow fever, and typhoid fever, which had no cure at that time, took away the life of some missionaries. For example, Thomas Strugans died in 1846 and Joseph Mary died in 1849 at sea on his way back to Jamaica for treatment. Another problem or difficulties or obstacle which the missionary faced in Cameroon was land issue. Missionary needed land in each village to establish a church and a school for the spread of the gospel. The difficulty was how to win the support of local authority who were the custodians of the land. This was because the missionary condemned some traditional authority on whom they were to depend. Moreover, missionary faced the problem of language barrier. The native could not understand English, which was used by missionary as a medium of communication. This made it difficult for them to pass the good news to the indigenous people. It was due to these difficulties that the missionary had to look for interpreters and even try to translate the Bible into local languages. Additionally, missionary faced opposition from the natives. Missionary preached against some cultural values like polygamy, and this angered a lot of people who had to fight back. The Christian doctrine instead insisted on monogamy and the freedom of choice of partner based on love. This clashed with the traditional betrothal of girls to men. This made a lot of natives resist the missionary. Furthermore, missionary faced the problems of road, food, and the needs, basic needs. Missionaries will always run short of basic needs like food, medicine, and money. And due to the long distance that separated them from Rome, they were not motivated to work well. Additionally, the differences, that is conflict among the missionary, was another problem to their activities. Alexander Innes, a missionary who arrived in Cameroon, later accused Africa of mismanaging missions funds and placing more emphasis on the social rather than the religious aspect. These differences among the missionaries discredit them and make the native doubt their mission. In the same light, missionaries face the problem of transport and communication to carry out their mission because there were no transport means. It was difficult for them to move from the coast to the interior of Cameroon without any problem. Also, the relief and topography did not permit them to undertake long journey. As a result, they could not carry out their mission effectively. Lastly, the persistence of slavery and slave trade hindered the work of missionaries. Part of their mission was to put an end to slavery and slave trade in Cameroon. Unfortunately, they met with the refusal of some natives to give up slave trade. Since it had been their main source of income, this made it difficult for missionaries to effectively carry out their mission. To conclude, the above explanation clearly show that the missionaries were successful thanks to some factor, such as the presence of some European firms along the coast of Cameroon, the collaboration of the native, and their commitment of the missionaries themselves. However, they also face some difficulties which hindered their activities, such as resistance from some native, lack of basic needs like foodstuff, language problem, and the existence of diseases. Dear students, this is how this question is supposed to be answered. When you are asked factors that favor, check the first part. Or you are asked factors that hinder. Factors that hinders are the difficulties, are the obstacles, are the limitations. Take note. Are the problems faced between these four? Take note of that. Here was Sir Moses. In our next audio, guess what? We are going to have this question. How beneficial were the activities of the London Baptist Missionary Society from 1841 to 1884 in Cameroon? Or examine the impact of the activities of the London Baptist Missionary Society along the coast of Cameroon between 1840 and 1884. Or assess or evaluate or critically examine or discuss the impact or effect or consequence of the activities of the London Baptist Missionary Society along the coast of Cameroon between 1840 and 1884. In this part that we are going to see in our next audio, it means that we are dealing with the consequences of the Christian missionary activities in Cameroon. And if the question comes under the consequence, base yourself all on this and answer without any problem. Here was Sir Moses. Thank you very much.